Hey everyone, it's Jenna Melanson from Canadian Beats Media, and I'm here for episode 5 of Inside the Industry. I'm joined by Laura Simpson of Side Door, based in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Um, so, you are the CEO and co founder of Side Door along with Dan Mangan. Tell us how Side Door came to be.
Side Door was formed kind of simultaneously in the brains of Dan and I doing separate things, but equally important to its birth, which is he on the artist side. He's a touring artist based in Vancouver. And he had found his start in music really by playing DIY spaces and finding audiences that way. So when he was working with a sub label that he was running under, Arts and Crafts, those artists were trying to get their break. And so he put it out to his followers, who has a place where these folks can play, and developed, what would be the baseline spreadsheet for places to play, the underground DIY alternative places to play. Meanwhile, I was here on the East Coast in Halifax, hosting shows here in my own house since 2011, working in the music industry for a number of years, and really seeing that those kinds of shows were really the best return on investment for artists and the best feeling shows for me as an audience member and a host as well. And people used to say, well, you can do that because you work in the music industry. And I used to say, no, that's just something that anybody can do. So I wanted to develop a way to enable that for anyone to host. And so a mutual friend, Rich O'Coin, who's an artist from here, introduced us, and we were able to start just the beginning ink scratches that was Side Door that incorporated later in 2017.
So, you recently announced Side Door's redesigned and refined platform, which returns to your main purpose of creating shows in person. What motivated you to remove the online option and focus on in person?
It was a really tough choice. Really, the online shows saved us during the pandemic because we were doing in-person shows from 2017 till 2020. The beginning of 2020, we had a major partnership planned with tours all over the US with South by Southwest. And 10 days after everything shut down, we had our first Zoom show. Dan was our guinea pig, and it was oddly rewarding and interactive and satisfying in a way that I never thought online shows could be. So we really dug into the interactive component, and we built out interactive shows, and we did more than 1,200 of them over the time of the pandemic. And despite how well that went, we definitely started to see a decline, and definitely a decline in appetite from specifically the artists, who are our first concern, like just an unwillingness to do online shows, feeling burnt out by that, and for audiences as well to a degree. Although there remains a huge accessibility problem for our audience members who don't normally go out to shows. So that's still a thing. Forgive me, my dog's barking upstairs. Normal at-home recording thing. So we saw that sort of decline and decided to hedge our bets and take out the online portion and make our platform back to in-person and simplify the whole process this year, 2022. Yeah.
Someone's coming to you to create a show. What should they have ready before contacting you?
It's really quite simple. Like, usually the best case scenario is it's somebody who has a level of presence online and touring already. They're going to find the most success with Side Door. We don't gatekeep who can use Side Door, but the folks that are already having some momentum usually find the best success. So, really all you need for a profile sign up is a photo and a link or two to access what your music sounds like, and really what your live show looks like, which is really helpful for hosts to understand what
Mhm.
it's going to be like. And then you just describe what your live performance is like, and then you go from there.
Now, once the show is booked, what should they have prepared then?
Well, it's probably not a preparation thing, but a managing expectations thing. Um, you know, these are DIY shows, meaning that Side Door is not at the shows. We are not setting up the shows in terms of like the sound gear
Mhm.
and the chairs and that sort of thing. You're working with a host who we provide a generous amount of education um, to work these shows. So I always say to an artist, be clear with your communication and your needs up front, which we provide the platform there to do. Get support from our support team in order to understand who really should be in charge of what. We can act as mediator in a lot of cases to understand what the expectations are and make sure that everybody's on the same page. And just make sure that you've covered all the things and have not made assumptions. Um, this is not walking into a turnkey theater situation. Um, a lot of hosts host the same. They do it out of the love of music, and they may not be experts, but they're willing to learn and they want you to communicate what your needs are. So as long as you're communicative about what your show is about and what you need as an artist, then you'll be prepared.
What would you say is the main advice you would give an artist who is just starting to play live shows?
If you're just starting to play live shows, I guess my advice is really to understand what the whole show is. It's not just about perfecting the songs and the delivery of the songs, but it's about thinking about how you show up, how you engage the audience, how you introduce yourself, how you introduce the songs, the banter in between. If you're even acknowledging the audience and how you're doing that. Um, so much of what we do in these small shows is about interactivity and connectivity. It's not just, we really pride ourselves on trying to create shows where you're not just consuming something as an audience member, you are actually engaging in a show. So I think the kind of things that you can do when you're just starting out is think about maybe shaking off some of those fears that you have, which is ever present and was present for almost everybody who's stepped on a stage, and thinking about the whole show. Yeah.
A lot has changed in the last few years, which taught us all new ways to do various things. What would you say musicians need to put their focus on starting out in the new music industry?
Yeah, thanks for acknowledging that. I think a lot of folks have talked about return to normal after the pandemic, but first of all, we're still in it. People are still getting sick. I'm just recovering myself from my second bout of COVID. Um, and things are not the same. The concerns of getting sick, what that does to a tour, what does that do, even if it's not you and your bandmates, but if it's audience members, you know, the skyrocketing prices of touring, all of that sort of thing. It's something to really mentally prepare for in terms of like, what are the risks that I am going to undertake and what am I willing to lose in order to do this show or this tour. And once you accept that, it's a little bit easier if you hit a rough patch. And I think that, these days, if people are focusing on live music as their source of income, reducing the risk and working within your comfort level is a huge thing that we have to focus on.
Aside from Side Door, you've also had a place within Music Nova Scotia, East Coast Music Awards, Halifax Jazz Festival, and various other music nonprofits. This gave you access to musicians in every stage in their career. Is there a certain thing you often see artists struggling with? And if so, what advice would you give them to help them succeed in that area?
Uh, I think existential crisis is a pervasive thing for all artists. You are not really, to me, all great artists struggle with the tension between um, understanding what's going on in the world, taking it into their bodies, and then turning it back out into art. And that is, in this day and age, necessarily going to cause a great deal of pain, if not trauma. It's traumatic to be an artist. You are processing an incredible amount of stuff. And to me, it's the greatest gift that artists can give is to take something that's really difficult, or something that makes us angry or sad or even joyful, and then put it back into art so that we all can share in that experience. But yeah, I think that part of it is a giant challenge to artists, and it shows, and people burn out, and they really need to take care of themselves and make sure that they're always protecting their heart.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just that, I think what I just talked about is the reason that I get up and the staff at Side Door get up every day to do what we do. We believe in the power of the work that artists do, and we're here to support them.
This was a great interview. Thank you for joining me for this segment of Inside the Industry.
Thanks so much.